Hey guys, welcome back to Computational Biology with Python. Times are changing. Make myself laugh. Since I started doing these classes just a couple of years ago now, I started with my R classes, my 2 R classes, and this is my second Python class. Technology changes at the speed of light, right? So already in the time that I've started making these, new technologies come out, and namely artificial intelligence, and more specifically something like Chat GPT or Google's Bard. And so these are, you may have heard of them from your teachers, and they may be, demonize them, like don't write your papers with Chat GPT and things like that. And it's an interesting dynamic because I understand the problem that it poses to professors, being one. I won't ask people to write papers anymore just because it's not work that is, or it's work that's easy to duplicate or to have done for you with these AI chatbots now. But they're also useful tools. So when I was an undergraduate, all my teachers were saying, don't use Wikipedia. Wikipedia is the devil, blah, blah, blah. And now you probably never have your teachers mention it because it's now just a way of life, right? And so that's kind of where we are with Chat GPT. It's scary because it forces professors to change how they teach and teachers to change how they teach. But we're going to embrace it because it is going to be the way of the future. It's incredibly impressive, and it's going to change a lot of things, I think. It's going to be very, very significant in our lifetime. So that being said, how do we apply it? So one thing you'll notice, I have to reload this. You'll notice this little figure that's popped up on your page down here. Well, that is Praxis's artificial intelligence engine, right? And so if we look at Praxis's website, they have this Pria, which is an augmented intelligence mentor, they call it. But essentially what it is, it's a conglomerate or an aggregate of Chat GPT 4, Stability AI, Google Scholar, PubMed, Pinecone, which allows you to save your Chat GPT history, and Wolfman Alpha, which makes her, as they say, essentially a supercomputer. So in your course, you have access to Chat GPT right here. So if we click on her, I'm gonna pop her out because a little graphical glitch there. And I'm going to, actually, let's pull her kind of to the side a little bit so my pretty face can stay on the screen. There we go. Okay, so if you've had a chance to play around with ChatGPT, it essentially scours the internet, reads the internet, then gives you a human-esque response in writing form. So, what is the purpose of bioinformatics? So, it does take a second because it has to do a lot of scouring, I'll say. But what it writes back is pretty impressive. So the purpose of bioinformatics is to analyze and interpret biological data using computational methods and tools. It combines biology, computer science, mathematics, blah, 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 blah. So by leveraging the power of bioinformatics, researchers can better understand the intricacies of living organisms and develop new therapies, diagnostics, and preventative measures for various diseases, which is really cool. You might say, okay, well, what's the, that's great, but I could just Google that myself. Well, you can also do cool stuff in coding, which is why I say it's going to be like very applicable in the future. So I want to say write a Python code that takes an input FASTA file and translates it into an amino acid sequence. So we can even get it to write certain bits of code for us, which is pretty impressive too. So the one thing though, when you're doing the coding, so this is a tool, it's not a replacement for bioinformatics people. There are some downfalls, and if you've read the articles that I linked, it states them, but briefly, it's, it might not have the most optimized code. You have to check it to make sure the code works. It might leave parts out that you have to add, like if you wanted to save file and things like that. And right now, it only uses somewhat small bits of code. It doesn't, there's like limits on how much it will return. I remember I tried to do one long analysis as an example, and it just cuts off at a certain point. But it's something like 2,500 characters or something, but it's still a really useful tool. So again, you gotta be a little patient with it because it takes a little bit of boom. Look at that. So if you remember from our last course, this is essentially the same code that we wrote in our last course. So we received our FASTA file. See, it doesn't have the input, so you'd have to add like file equals and the name of your FASTA file at the top, and then read FASTA file with open file r as follows. So it creates an empty sequence, and it says if the line starts with, even knows like if the line starts with the caret, that it's not sequence, that's the name, right? When we look at FASTA files, that's the name line. And then it has our codon table, and it says, okay, if you have ATA, do an I, and ATC, do an I, etc. And then it says, okay, give what our protein is, and so it'll pop this into the empty character here. Oh, it does ask for the input file right down here, input equals FASTA file. Or input.fasta, so you'd have to name it input.fasta in your folder. See, there's little nuances like that. But for seq ID, seq and sequences, items, translate, so it made this translate function. It says, okay, translate the sequence and then print it. So that's incredible. So how much time did we spend writing these, which was quite a bit. So it is a tool that it is helpful. Like I said, it still needs annotated and kind of polished up, but it gives you the ability to write code based on pseudocode. So what I typed in, this is pseudocode, right? Write a Python code that takes an input FASTA file and translates it into an amino acid sequence. So that's like the definition of what the code has to do. So that's what we call pseudocode. And it goes and it writes it for us. And that kind of tells us what it does, which is fantastic. So we're going to be using this. You're free to use this throughout the quarter to help. The other thing is you can put your code in if it's not working and say, why is this code not working? And it can give you answers. Another thing is if I say something that you're not familiar with, say, like, you can ask it, what is codon usage bias, which we haven't talked about, but if there's a point in the video you're like, I don't get why he keeps using this word, just type it in here. It'll give you a great answer. Perfect. Codon usage bias refers to the phenomenon where some codons are used more frequently than others for encoding the same amino acid in a given organism or species. Yeah. So that is Pria. Essentially, so after this course, if you're still like, man, I really like using this AI stuff, they are, you know, you can get accounts on Chat GPT and Bard and things of that nature as well, that do essentially the same thing. This one's got, Pria's got more built into it than Chat GPT, but this is an amazing tool. So we're going to embrace it. We're not going to be scared of it and told not to use it. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me about it. It's like, I think it came out in September, so it's like really new technology still. But yeah, and you are free to use it for anything in this course. Even when we have the challenges and I say, oh, write a code to do this, you can use Pria to help you with those. So that's really it for this section. I'm really like, it's really cool to me. I hope it's cool to you. But feel free to use it. It's wonderful for asking coding questions as long as you understand pseudocode or what you want your code to do, and then be able to kind of weed through it and make sure everything's working the right way. So it's important to understand what all these components are. So like what we learned in the first Python course, like what loops are and things of that nature, because you have to be able to like optimize it and debug it, because it's not perfect yet. It's not like, it's still not super intuitive, and doesn't really know what exactly you're looking for. It just gives its best idea. So there will be optimization that you'll have to do. So anyways, for watching on YouTube, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I hope you like this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.